Am I not enough?
Pick me, choose me, love me.
Right. You're the loser. It just meant they wanted a more aged piece of meat.
I do want to give a shout out to Miss Brittany Eskew, because what we are talking about today, you are the one that implanted this in my brain. So shout out to you on this analogy. So we're going to be talking about chicken or steak. And you guys are probably like, Ashlin, what? But we will get into what that means. But my pageant competitors that are watching, or really not even just pageant competitors like you just said, everyone that is hearing this, do you ever go through the thought process of like, was I not enough? Do they not want me if you go into a job interview, tryouts, and things like that?
Right. This is every day. You're applying for a job, you're applying for a college scholarship or an internship or whatever the case may be. Am I not enough? What is wrong with me? You know, that's kind of goes back to the whole idea that we have been talking about being enough and having self-confidence and self-esteem and carrying yourself in a positive manner. And that goes back to you feeling as though you're not enough, or the concept. And I know it's so funny because I was talking to somebody who the terminology was made famous on a popular television show. I know when they're saying pick me.
Oh my gosh, yeah, yes. You're talking about Meredith Grey off of Pick Me, Choose Me, Love Me.
Right. Yeah. And when they don't, do you feel that's bad?
Right. So I'm going to be talking about how I feel like in pageants, because that is just what I can relate it to. But like I said, you can relate this to anything. When you were on stage, or when you're on a field, or if you're doing cheer tryouts, or really anything, you put your hard work into it, and of course you want a good result. But also, if you don't have a good result, pick yourself back up, because my chicken and steak analogy, when you go into your favorite restaurant, I'm going to use Mexican for example, because that's pretty much all I eat. I might go into the Mexican restaurant saying, I am going to get grilled chicken nachos. I'm really hungry for grilled chicken nachos, and that's what I'm going to get. But when I sit down at the table and look at the menu, I'm like, oh my gosh, steak nachos are also really good. I'm going to go with steak nachos today. However, that does not mean that I did not want those chicken nachos. That just means I did not want those chicken nachos that day. However, next week, girl, you can bet that I'll probably eat up those chicken nachos. But my whole point in that analogy is, just because someone doesn't pick you in that moment, that does not mean that they did not like you. That does not mean that they were like, she would be a bad choice. That just means that they just weren't feeling you that day. And I know that's also hard to hear, because
but it's true.
Yeah, but it is very, very true. I know you have a lot of judging experience. Do you feel like that's ever happened to you, where you think you might love this one girl, then you're like, hey, I think I might like this girl today?
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, sometimes it's not fair, but it depends on the competition. Many times when you're sitting at a judges panel, you already have your paperwork in front of you, and it'll have a picture of each contestant. May not. You may have a program book. Some judges are not allowed to look at the program book, whatever the case may be. If you're sitting there and you're looking through the program book and you're looking at these pictures and you, oh gosh, she is really pretty, and her information is so interesting, I cannot wait to speak to her. Mm-hmm. You go over the applications, oh wow, look how interesting this is, I cannot wait. And then someone walks in the room and they just blow your mind, because it flows. You enjoy talking to them. You don't want them to leave. It was a pleasure. They're beautiful. They're natural. They laugh at just the right time. The facial expressions are real, not fake. You don't look like you're biting an apple. You know, it's real. And you fall in love with them.
But also, you can like two girls at the same time. Like,
Yes.
I've been in this situation. I have been a tie girl. Like, the judges have told us, I've been the tie girl twice that we know for sure, where the judges afterwards came up to me and was like, you were just in a bad situation. You were in a tie spot. And for one pageant, off the top of my head, they simply did not choose me to win because they were like, you need more experience. Like, you are only 15. If you were 18, this title would have been yours.
Right, absolutely. And it doesn't mean that you were the wrong choice or you're the loser. Mm-hmm. It just meant they wanted a more aged piece of meat, maybe.
Right. Or they just wanted their steak cooked differently, apparently. But this analogy helped me so much, especially putting it in the chicken or steak point of view, because that's realistic. You go through the chicken or steak scenario pretty much every day without really realizing it.
Right.
It is a human emotion, and people do it all the time.
Right. And you can relate to that with anything. I mean, okay, you have a boutique. Let's talk about boutique shopping. Mm-hmm. Well, I choose to shop at this boutique today instead of this one. Doesn't mean I don't like the other one. Right. Maybe I was just going for a little something different. I think we have to all quit taking things so personal,
right,
and realize sometimes it's just not all about you. Sometimes it's about someone's perception and what they're interested in at the moment.
Right.
And, a lot to do with that is the directors of the pageants and what they may instruct their judges that they're looking for. And I don't mean that in a cheating manner, okay? I mean that as in...
if someone's like, I need a mature girl that's ready to go to nationals now, we don't have time to get her a new wardrobe. We don't have time. It
depends on the situation, and everything is relevant. Sometimes the state pageants are pushed a little closer to time, exactly like you said. I need a girl that's ready now. I hate that, but nationals is in 2 weeks, and she's got to be ready to go.
Right.
Versus, you having 6 months to prepare and them saying, oh my God, I love this girl and she has so much potential and I could see her doing so well. Well, we have 6 months to get her ready. Let's do it.
Both case scenarios do happen.
Right.
Like, sometimes you will see a winner that you might scratch your head about. However, you don't know what went on in that interview room. And they will say, I loved that girl. She needs wardrobe help. She needs walking help, but we have the time. Let's get her and let's help her. And also you will have the situations where it's like, we don't have time. We need her to go and win a national title right now. And that's when there are always going to be situations that occur that might not be fair sometimes. And I know I've been seeing a lot of posts on Facebook about a bunch of people are getting ready for cheer tryouts right now. And my girls that are listening to me that don't compete in pageants and can relate this to cheer, you have to think, gosh, I remember when I tried out for cheer, there were so many people that tried out though. And they had to narrow down the best and choose. And I know personally one person that did not make the team that was my friend at the time, and she was absolutely devastated. But once again, they just weren't their pick that day.
Right. And, it goes back to this when you go to cheer tryouts. If you take gymnastics on a regular basis, you may take cheer classes or
you might be on an all-star team or
whatever the case may be. And excuse me, guys, and tryouts are right then, well, you're ready and you do great and you kill it. There could be a girl that is equally as talented, but is just not at that same place because they're not doing that all the time.
In any competition, you have to find something to eliminate. And what I mean by that is you really are being compared in a competition.
Right.
That's exactly what a competition really is. So there are going to be things that the judges might have to nitpick to choose one person over another. I know another tie situation that I was in. I won fun fashion, tied for evening gown, and then I think I was a little shy of tying with interview.
Yes.
And I ended up as second runner up. And I do have to tell you guys, from this case scenario, when I got called into top 5, I was like, this was IJM, International Junior Miss. I got called into top 5, and I want to say, was this my last year I competed? Or did I go back one more year?
No, that was it.
Okay. I stood backstage and I was praying, and I was like, God, do not let me be first runner up, because this is one of those things that I put 6 years of my life into this organization. I was like, I can't take first runner up. I said, either let me be last place or another runner up, but do not break my heart standing there in the first runner up position. And soon I got called for a second runner up, and later we got told that I was in that tie situation. But once again, they picked me apart, and they were like, hey, I'm not in the mood for Georgia right now. I'm in the mood for, I think, like South Africa won that year. But
yeah, I think you're right.
I walked away and I had peace on this situation, because I knew that wasn't my time. And
Right.
once you can get to the situation of walking away with peace and not bitterness, your heart will be so much fuller.
And then you'll be a better person the next time you compete.
Right.
You know, the scenario of they didn't like me, I lost. You only lost if you leave with a bad attitude. There's no such thing as a loss.
Right.
You learn. You know, and we when we use the L word, it's learn, not loss.
Right.
And that's what we had to accept. You have to be willing to go into the event knowing it may not come out like you want it to, because you're chicken today and they wanted steak.
Right.
You know, and that scenario does make you feel better in the end when you realize in the long run, yes, it is an educated opinion, but it is just an opinion.
Right, because I have said this in an episode in the past, but y'all, that's 5 people's opinion. And in some cases,
Or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is who's deciding who is getting that crown and banner.
Right.
And it is so easy to walk away bitter. I will admit, I have walked away from pageants and I have been bitter. I have had zero understanding on the case scenario, and I've walked away bitter, and so is my family. Y'all have been bitter before.
I have. There have been competitions where I'm like, what?
Right.
Really? But then I step back. I think about the fact that I did not see interview. I do not know how interview went. And I had to grow into the thought process of it. There's nothing you could do differently. When you get to the point where you're happy with yourself when you don't win, it's because you know you gave it all you had and there's nothing else you could do. And moms with young children and young girls, instill that in them. It's unrealistic that you think they're going to win all the time.
Right.
And you should not expect your daughter to win all the time and be okay with it if she does not.
Right.
I can tell you, I don't think in all the years you competed, you've ever seen me be ugly after a competition. Even if I thought you should have competed or placed a little higher.
I mean, but I would say this.
But
we would have the conversations where we were like, you should have won that pageant. And I mean,
Right.
if we keep talking about one situation specifically, the one that I got disqualified from. However, I was at the age to where we could have that conversation. I wasn't
Right.
8 being told that, because I was mature enough to understand that it just wasn't my time and that everything happens for a reason. But I feel like especially the little girls. I have seen firsthand, like, little girls, like Princess Division, saying I wasn't enough. And that's just heartbreaking for me to hear these little girls going up to their mom or going up to whoever's helping them at the time saying, like, Mom, I wasn't good enough. They didn't like me.
Or Mama, what was wrong with me? What did I do wrong? Guys, that's sad. That's really sad. Where will their mental health be if a child thinks they did something wrong or they're less than because of a little crown on your head?
This analogy, I feel like kids would understand.
Yeah.
You know, you can compare it to anything. You can say, hey, they wanted Lucky Charms instead of Fruit Loops. They wanted Captain Crunch instead of whatever else. Like, this analogy does help so many people. And when I've explained it to people, they've been like, oh my gosh, that makes sense now. And it's just these little kids, it's souls, it's mindsets. And no one should ever feel like they're not enough, much less a child.
Right. And it's even hard on adults. You know, adults get very depressed and always feel less than. And we are talking about not being the selection for whatever the case may be. You know, it just may be nothing at all, or there should be something. Now, constructive criticism and explanations as to what you can do better, we're not saying that's not a good thing. And if you can't take constructive criticism, then you need to find something else to do. Your hobby needs to be, I don't know, reading a book or cross-stitching. Or my whole point is, your hobby doesn't have to be competitive if you can't take criticism. If you can't take criticism, find something to do that makes you happy, to where you don't put yourself in a position where that's going to happen. And when you're working with a coach, or you're working with someone that is pouring into you, they should be able to say that. They should be able to say, Ashlin, you know, you were beautiful and you were stunning, but let's work on your walk a little bit, or let's work on this or that.
You know how many times somebody has said something about my shoulders? That's something that I still hear. Ashlyn, stop shaking your shoulders.
But I'm just saying, you know, we're not saying, oh, you're perfect and you don't need to train and you don't need to work on things. You're steak or chicken and you're going to win or whatever, and it's not your fault. There are some controllable things that you can do.
Yeah,
Again, it goes back to working with who you trust, getting good wardrobe, getting good coaches, getting good hair and makeup. You know, there are all kinds of things that can help you to be the best steak or chicken you can be.
Right. Yeah. How seasoned are you?
Okay, that's a good one now.
Who marinated you?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Go.
Who marinated you? What are you soaked with?
Yeah. Are you soaked with good positive thoughts? Or rotten stuff?
that make you get, what is it called? Salmonella? Are you going to give someone salmonella?
You know, we don't know. You
but
know,
like,
that's just, you know.
Back to the more serious part of it, though, is like, pageantry is supposed to build self-confidence. In the grand scheme of things, that's what pageantry should be about. It should not be about tearing you down, making you feel less than. And if that is what that organization is doing, run.
As fast as you can. Find something that's uplifting, encouraging, where you learn and you grow and you build real friendships.
And like, the more we talk about IJM, the more I realize that was, I don't want to say that was my peak, but that was when I really didn't have all that anxiety. I didn't have all that pressure. I had healthy pressure and healthy anxiety because I always wanted to do well, but I wasn't in the bathroom having anxiety attacks, worried about what hair and makeup artists are going to say in front of me, worried about that type of stuff. It was healthy stress rather than
It was fun.
right. You guys, we do have a giveaway alert. If you are interested in winning this Alita t-shirt, which is one of our manufacturers at Michelle's Formal Wear, all you have to do is 3 little things. You have to like, subscribe, and comment below, and we will reach out to you guys to get all of your shipping information. However, a disclaimer, if you are one of our international fans, we will require you guys to pay the shipping just because international shipping fees can be a little pricey sometimes, but you will be receiving a free t-shirt from one of our manufacturers. Make sure you do 3 little things and it could be yours. So you guys, if y'all can take away one thing from this episode, I want y'all to know to not be bitter. Sometimes settle in the fact that you have to look on the positive side just to make you feel better about yourself. And if that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do. But you guys, let us know below, have y'all heard of this chicken and steak analogy? Or is this the first time y'all have heard of it? But until then, we will be seeing y'all next time. But make sure y'all subscribe, like, comment, all of that stuff. And we'll see y'all next time. Bye.